Hello and welcome back to my show. Today we're going to be building a Christmas tree. I already started out here and I'll just put it up there so we see what it looks like, but I'll be extending that a bit more and we'll look at it because it's festive. Hopefully there's still some people left in the offices around the world looking at this. I know everybody's probably excited to go home starting early vacation, but I'm here, we'll be building a tree and we'll see what comes of it. If you don't know me, I'm edA-qa mort-ora-y. I'm working at Fuse Tools, where we do design and productivity tools for mobile development, and I am doing the engine and animation layout main programmer on those parts of the code and some of the reactive stuff. And today we're going to put that together. We're going to be using the newest features of our model system. It's actually my colleague Sebastian doing most of the work on that, but I'm the one that integrates it with the layout, so I'll be showing that off. I'm not intending on using any features that aren't available in the current public beta for this. This isn't the current release, but this is the beta release. And I'm using obviously the development branches, because just in case I want to use something I developed recently, but I don't think so in this case. So anything that looks weird, just let me know. If you have any questions, just ask. Otherwise, I'm just going to start building on this little tree here. And sure to say hello if you want, and otherwise let me get started. Let me show you what I've done so far. Very advanced. I have a tree with one bulb on it, and I did this beforehand just so I can remind myself of some of the code involved in it, and there wasn't that much involved. So I have the basic layout. Ignore the stuff at the bottom here for a second. We'll come back to that later. We have the state bit at the top. This state connects to my state file. The state file has just a few ornaments. It has an ornament list in it, and I'll get back to the tree size stuff, and that's that one ornament in the middle. That was just enough to get us started so that we can see in the main view here, down in the each, for each ornament that I placed them somewhere on the tree. And this shows you with the times 50% that the positions in the JS file are relative to the size of the tree, and I anchored it. And the anchor in this case, quite often in my show you'll see how I anchor it at 50,50 to get it right in the middle. But in this case I actually want 50,0 because I want to anchor it at the top, and technically that's a bit wrong. I'll put it at 5%. It's just because I actually want to just simulate, hanging on the tree at exactly the point you press. And let's see if that actually works right now. Alright, so it's still hanging a bit low. We could actually up this up to a little bit further to see if it hangs somewhat where I'm pointing. Okay, it's really hard to see with this cursor, and it's also on Mac. The hot point of the cursor is annoyingly not the tip of the arrow. So, okay, but let's see how that's done so far. When I click the tree area, this is simply an image. So this image is a tree, and it's transparent, and I just have it clicked on it to add an ornament. And it also has this placed responder, and I'll get back to that just a second. Let's look at clicked for a second. Actually, I think I have to explain placed at the same time. Placed is a high-level UX event that is called when the layout is done on this tree. And if we look at the state.js file, all I do is I store this width and height of this tree, because normally you don't have this relationship between the UX and JS. You don't want them communicating back and forth. But there are a few cases where it becomes a little important, and this is one of them. Because here in add ornament, which is our clicked handler, I take the local X, which is in the position of the tree on the layer, and I divide it by the tree size, which gives me my relative size, and then I simply add an ornament to the list, and that adds it to the tree. Now the reason why we do this is because we want to get a relative size. Now this is actually unfortunate, and there's a long-standing issue open for this, is that, well, it's kind of silly that I have to do this myself. This is really something the UI layer should be doing for me, giving a relative size. And I could just stick that into the arguments, but we have this sort of open discussion like, but there's so many different positions you might want. Maybe you want relative to another element, and it's still very unclear to us what the best approach is here. And to be honest, this doesn't come up in the type of apps we usually do very often. It's, hanging bulbs in trees not so often. And the two cases where it comes up the most are like, I think in Maps, but Maps has its own system that handles that, and it actually has a thing. And it does come up in charting sometimes, so we actually still have to solve it. It's just not at the top of my list, and mainly it's a syntax thing, because I can't just keep adding arguments here because there is an overhead in passing lots of arguments to the JavaScript side. Okay, but that's what it is. So nonetheless, we've added some bulbs, and these are all the same bulbs right now. And you notice they're all red. The first one was gray, and I do this with a name. So the gray one has bulb 1, and the red one has bulb 2. I guess that's more of a blue than a gray. And then in the main thing on the image, how I add the ornament is I say data to resource. This you may not have seen used frequently. If you're doing individual images, you can attach them directly from JavaScript, and this was actually the older way of doing this. And in some cases, this is actually, depending on your style of coding, this might be the preferred way. I'm still using it because I had a list of resources before and they had this set up, so I still like it this way, and for me it's a bit more predictable. And what this is these are down here. These are actually using the resource system. So this data to resource, if image is bulb, this is equivalent to resource bulb 1. If image here, if the value of image is bulb 1, the data to resource is the equivalent of typing resource bulb 1. So this you can see how it connects to the resource system. And our resource is defined down here. File image source bulb 0. And so I'll just highlight those for you again so you can see it a bit. So this is right there, and this connects down here. Now these sources are, these are strings and these are strings. And so you notice we had in the JavaScript, we had a bulb 1 and a bulb 2. Now it's highlighting the wrong thing. And so we had the two color bulbs attached to these source files. But the first thing I want to do now is because, well, this isn't so much fun to have just two colored bulbs. So let's actually cycle through the ones I have. Now this is the disadvantage of the resource way, is that now I actually have to give the list in JavaScript. But the advantage is now I don't have file names in JavaScript. I have just names. And again, because it's really weird to deal with images from JavaScript, so there's a trade-off both ways. So let's say bulbs. Actually, just call them ornaments, because we might want to add other ones. And we'll just give it a list of names. Bulb 1, bulb 2. Terrible typing today. Bulb 3, bulb 4. Now I can call them bulbs, and I'll get back to that for a second. Why? Bulbs. And so when we add a bulb, let's take off the default one so it doesn't start with any to start at the first. And let's just select a random bulb. And how do we want to do it? We want to do bulbs. Math.random. Does anybody know if there's a random integer function in JavaScript? I always end up doing this, but it feels like there's probably a random integer thing. And times bulbs.length. Okay, so we put a bulb here, and if I did this right, I didn't create an error. Alright, now, I have an error here, math.random. Yeah, okay. So I lose all my bulbs because we restarted the JavaScript and we lose the state. Okay, one of them must be missing. So we do different colors, but I screwed one of them up because you notice one of them doesn't appear. We need 3 colors, and one of them is missing, so I must have made a mistake. So I have bulb 1, 2, 3, and 4. What do I have over here? Bulb 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that you know, the file names are 1, 2, 3, and 4. I would blame somebody for the mismatch, except that's entirely me, so let's blame myself for the inconsistent indexing. And now we should get different ones. So we get the different colored bulbs. That little white one there has a little pattern on it, but we can't see it. And I actually have more bulbs prepared, but I just got on hang up on bulbs right now. And So that gives us our basic bulbs. That's all we really need, and this is a very simple example of adding some bulbs. But let's say we also want to add some candles to the tree. I don't know why we'd want to do that. Or maybe we should have a selection saying, let's say, what do we want to add? We want to have bulbs or something else. So let's add a little pop down at the top to see what we can add. And, oh, by the way, this little title in the corner, this is just the way I usually test things. Whenever I set up a new code using model, I just throw a title in to make sure it's connected. I can remove that now. And it still says Christmas because it's keeping the old state. Just wait until I get rid of the text. Okay. Now, I've been meaning to try selection lately, and let's see if I can actually get this working with bulbs. It's a little bit weird. Let's see if we can do it. So client panel is a dock panel, so let's dock something at the top. Put a wrap panel here. And I'm just going to hard code some bulbs now so we don't do too much at once with JavaScript. And actually no, I'm going to directly do it in JavaScript. So we have this dot bulbs equals bulbs. And these are just names then. It's all we want. And I'm going to say selected bulb equals bulbs 0. Dock this at the top. So I want to make a little panel of selectors for the bulbs at the top. And let's give this a bit of a padding and make it white. So we can put the bulbs on top of it. So for each of the bulbs, we're going to display something now. A little bulb. Now we can use the same approach we did before. Actually, put a fixed width on these though, because they're going to be a bit large. The actual source files are quite large. I don't want to use the natural size. We're going to use the same data resource again, and wow, I've never tried it with this. This refers to the current context because bulbs is directly a list of strings. And I've never tried this syntax. We might have to modify the names because that's not something I thought of testing before. It actually works, so great. Okay, but width 100 is obviously way too much, so let's put that down to width, probably 30. Okay, so we have some bulbs, and we need some item spacing here. Item spacing equals... Actually, we're going to put it on the items themselves, because we're going to make them selectable as well. Panel margin equals 10. And we're going to make selections here, and I'm going to use the selection engine. And I have to admit, I've never tried this with models. It's supposed to just work, and I'm hoping it does. There's no reason it shouldn't work. Okay, there's always reasons it might not work, but let's see what we can do. And so we're going to have a selection, and the volume is bulb name is what I called it. That's correct. Selected bulb. Selected bulb. And I've forgotten how to do selections. Let's see. Let's look at the quick reference. There's a selectable. I have to create a selectable down here, so I know this for sure. I have to make a selectable here. Selectable value equals, and this is again just the name we want. But let me check the syntax again. Selection. Oh, there, somebody actually wrote a little video for it, but I'll just skip by that part. There we go. Down here we have a selectable, and as long as we're in a selection, that looks... Alright, so the default works. I think I wrote that example. I really don't know anymore. This example is using the old observable approach, which in case models fails, we'll resort to, but it's not a big section. So we want to say when this is tapped, what happens to this? We are going to toggle the selection. And there's something we missed. We want to say selection, how many of these were allowed? We want a maximum, so you can only have one item. max count and min count. They're both going to be 1. This allows you to have selections that have multiple items, and I don't know, the default's probably unlimited. I honestly don't remember. I have to read the docs. And something has to happen while it's selected as well. So while selected, what do we want to do when it's selected? Okay, let's just do this quickly for now. Let's say there's another color here. UX name equals back panel, something quick. Change back panel.color, just so we can see something. And see what errors I've created, because I usually do. And I didn't. So I actually selected. And you can change the selection. Wow, that actually worked the first time. I'm very happy for that. Which is why I didn't do it the way I wanted. So let's do a bit of highlight. We're going to put a padding of 10 on here too. And when it's selected, I'm going to put a rectangle on it. This also shows, again, these triggers, you quite often think of them changing things, but they can also introduce nodes. So you can say, let's introduce this. 5 should be appropriate. Corner radius. Stroke color equals, let's make it very dark. That's not very dark, but still thick enough to see it. It's not one of these things that needs an excessively visible UX. And of course we have to put it in layer equals background, and this is too bright still. Let's put it a little bit dark, a little bit brighter, I mean. Okay, so now we have a selected bulb, and you can change the selection. But we've not hooked it up to anything yet. So let's go back and hook this up. So now in this push add ornaments here, instead of saying adding a random bulb, I'll just change this randomness. I'll comment out the randomness for now. This dot selected bulb. So now if we did this right, if I select this bulb, okay, let me explain that in just a second, why it went over there. We get only that bulb, and if I select this one, we get this one. So our little selection panel is actually working. We can choose which bulbs we want to put on the Christmas tree, and this is using the selection engine. So I have, the basic pattern is you have a list of something, the items you want to use, you have a selected item, and then in the UX you have a selection and a bunch of selectables, and the rest is handled by default. There's a lot of extended options here, but this is just the simplest approach. But now we might want to select more than bulbs. Oh yeah, I want to explain why this one's over here. This isn't it's a defect, and it's one of these complicated defects I discovered this morning. It has to do with this placed here at the top in the image. This won't happen when you deploy an app. This little bulb will not go there. And let me explain why. Is because what happens is when we modify a JavaScript file, our preview, and the preview doesn't reload everything. That would be ridiculous if we reload everything every time. So you can make minor changes in here, save it, and not everything's reloaded. Okay, if I actually made a change, so I can go back to the default ones. Okay. So this time it reloaded. There's a certain logic. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. So this reloaded the state, but it may not have reloaded the actual graphics. So the rest of the layout stayed the same because our state and the layout are detached, which means that this tree placed has not been called in this state. So I don't have a tree size, which is a problem for this add ornament function. So when I click on it, oh, it happened to go right. I got lucky this time. But it's a problem we're really thinking about. We don't know how to fix it yet. It only comes up in preview, and it only comes up in certain cases with using something like placed. And again, the only reason I need placed is because we're missing another feature. So again, this thing's going to end up further down in the list to fix, because I know the much better way to fix this particular use case is avoid the need for placed entirely, because the two-way communications for layout messages are really not a good thing. Okay. Enough with that. Let's try and get this panel to go away. We want a little tab bar somewhere saying what to open and close these panels, because we might want to add something else. So what else might we want to add? I think I put some little candles in here. So I have candles here as well. So let's add a tab from the main one first, and then yeah. Can I do this with an edge navigator? No, it'll be hard because I have too many at the top. So let's do the panel. I could put this in a separate class now because it's entirely segregated, so let's do that. It's sharing a state. This is why it's sometimes a little bit weird putting things in a separate file, because it's just going to inherit the main state, but we can do that anyways. And we take off the doc here, because that doesn't make a lot of sense. I'll take the doc and put it back in the main one. So UX class equals bulb panel. Let's call it that. Or bulb pellet. I like pellets, because that's what it is. It's a pellet. And it's a bulb pellet.ux. And we want this at the top. Bulb just bulb pellet. And I want a little selector here that this is going to have a name called UX name equals bulb pellet. Okay, and then I still want a wrap panel at the top. This is a bit weird. I'm thinking too much in advance. I just want to make this palette appear and disappear. So I'm trying to think of how to do that. Let's wrap this all in from a panel doc equals top. Put a stack panel. And then I'll make a row of tabs. Grid's not quite correct right now, so I'll do a stack panel orientation equals horizontal. Value equals bulbs. And what happens is when we click this, clicked. We'll do this all without animation first of all. Visibility equals hidden. Clicked sets bulb palette dot visibility equals visible. This should actually be collapsed. We want it to be completely gone to start with. Uh-oh, what did I do? There we go. I need something, so if I do that, I get the bulbs. And what we don't want here, though, is we want to have some sort of selection between them. And so I'm going to let's create the candle panel right away as well. I'm going to copy this code. Yeah, okay. I always say yeah because I really don't like copying and pasting stuff, but I don't want to get too sidetracked into showing how to structure the components here, because we'll miss the main part I'm working on, candle palette. Alright, because this is going to be exactly the same, except for the selected candle bit. So we can easily make a component out of this, because if I'm just replacing these few bits, candles, and notice everything else is the same. Great. And so this is a really bad idea to actually make a second one. But let's just get it working with this first of all. And in main view, I'm going to have a candle palette. And then we'll make some candles. Okay, this should also have some sort of color. Item spacing equals 5. Padding equals 10,5. So now we have bulbs and candles there. But I don't have any candles in the list, so obviously it can't display them yet. So we're going to have to do that. This.candles equals candles. 0 probably, candle 1. And if you have any questions about this as I'm doing it, feel free to ask. Select a candle. This isn't going to make sense. We don't actually want to select the candle now because we want to select an ornament. So, how am I going to do that? Well, let's just do it this way first. Selected candle equals candle 0. Palettes are something you might have in apps. Not as common in mobiles, but it could actually be there. And okay, so now the candle suddenly appeared. Well, this is the first reason why we might not want to go wasting the width. So why don't we say a height this time of 30 instead. Candles are really hard to see, I guess, but whatever, we'll leave them as that. And now you see the problem here is when we do, whoops, we can show that, but then we can show that one. This is really not what we want. This is where you can reuse something like a page control, and I'm actually going to do that. Page control, and what do? We're going to say, we're going to put the palette bulbs in there. And we can actually use a page indicator at the bottom, and so this is actually a title equals, well, let's first off give this a name. UX name equals palette nav. And we can actually do palette nav dot active equals bulb palette. And this one will be candle palette. Why did they change the name of that? That was silly. Okay. Visibility has to go. So we have the visibility. Okay. And now we can actually navigate between the palettes. And I'm actually going to leave the navigation enabled because that means the user can actually swipe as well. And we have two palettes. What it doesn't answer is that, well, how do we know what the user's adding? Are they adding bulbs or are they adding candles? Like, which one are they actually on? And we can redo this little tab bit at the bottom later. But let's figure out, because right now we select the red one, we go here, we select a candle, but, well, it's still adding red because that's what they're on. We're only adding one thing right now. So instead, we're going to combine this. We want to know what page they're on. And we want to add pages. And there's several ways we can do this. Wow, I'm going to use page index though. I'm going to do a bit of a cheap way. Page index equals page index. And we're just going to remember the name these things are in, okay? This is probably telling me it's not page index found. This is probably active index, sorry. Okay. And that problem is that we don't have the variable defined. Okay, page index. And what we'll do now is we'll say this dot, let's say palette index. Palette index and palette index. This variable is a two-way variable, so we can update it from the JavaScript side and ignore whatever it was doing over there for a second. Hopefully he's clearing it. And we can also do it from the, so we'll see it here. So when we add an ornament, now we're going to say, let's remove this bit. So if this dot palette index equals 0, we'll just hard code this for now as a way to see what it is. Else if this dot palette index equals 1. Okay. And okay. These are let. I'm going to distinguish here. And this is actually var here because I actually want to make this declared for the whole function. And we'll just call it ornament though. Ornament. ornament equals this dot selected candle. So we have that, and this should mean that based on what page we're on, we'll select different things. So if we're on this one, we should still be putting bulbs on. Oh, this is that weird error again. And if we go to candles, we can add candles to it now. And the other candle should work as well. And well, we're going to have to make the candles based on something else. Because you notice when I add these things, there's two problems here. It's too big. And secondly, when I click on it, it's because of the angle we're clicking at the top of this thing. So these ornaments, the simple class for ornament isn't going to be enough. We're going to actually want a different ornament class. I'm trying to think of how we can do this, whether we want to have a derived class or not, or we just want to pass it in parameters saying, well, this is the ornament instead. So we can have like an AX and an AY. What is our anchoring? And let's do that for now. Just fix the anchoring. Or no, let's fix size for now, okay? So our size comes down to the width is 5%, which isn't necessarily the best for candles, because candles are height-based. Now we can kind of cheat and say, look, let's take the easy way. Because bulbs are mainly square, they're slightly square, just say 7% and just make them that size. And so now they're all about a decent size, but the candles, you still, maybe they should be bigger, but we don't want to make the bulbs bigger. So let's set that in the JavaScript. Let's say the size is here as well, size. And in particular, let's say height. Height equals height. And now instead of doing it this way, we're gonna push the whole ornament. So we're gonna say new ornament. I'm going to start duplicating some stuff, x, y, this bulb, and what do we say is this in percent? Okay, we'll just do this in percent, so 5. I like doing relative, but since it's easier to do percent in the GUI side, we'll have to do that. Well, 0.5, yeah, that's correct. Because we'll multiply by 100% then. New ornament, x, y, select a candle, let's say 0.8. Then we add this ornament. And so now this height can be height times 100%. What percentage do we have now? So the bulbs are too small, we're going to have to increase their size. And the candles, I don't know, maybe the candles could be bigger. We want to see something. I'm sure with the nice compression you might not be seeing much at all over there. So let's increase this a bit. Let's make the ornaments about 7% and the candles 12. We can over-decorate the tree for the purpose of this demo. So this is you can at least see the blue or a red blob here, purple. And on the candles you should actually see a candle now, at least something resembling a candle. Now you notice that if you're watching, these candles are on the tree. In fact, the tree itself doesn't have a triangular hit region, it's a rectangular hit region, so you can add stuff outside of the tree. That's something that you can't easily resolve right now. We used to have a way to clip out regions, and you can still have a clipping region right now. If we really want, we can put a wedge of an ellipse on there and use that as a clipping region, but I'm just going to leave it out for now that we have a way to make a wedge and a circle and a square. Those are the only clipping regions we can have, and for now we're just going to have to trust the user doesn't stick things where they're not supposed to be. Okay. But this shows the basic of our bulbs. We have the little palette at the top. And you can switch between them. So we have two types of bulbs, or we have bulbs and candles, and they can both be added to the tree. And it's a palette docked at the top. we might actually want to make it pop in and out. Let's actually do that. Or let's fix the stack panel first. We're going to make a page indicator. So we have a page indicator here. Actually, let's just do it the quick way. Let's do it the safe way. Instead of a stack panel, the page indicator is actually a stack panel as well, which is interesting. Page indicator. It's not something I wanted, but there's really no way we can actually get away from this now. We might have to create another class that does something else. And the orientation is horizontal. And item spacing is also there. You can see it's there. And what else do we have? We need to have the navigation. That's the main thing. Navigation equals palette nav. What this buys us is, instead of these texts, we now have a dot in here, text UX. Actually, let's put another panel because we want to highlight again. Panel UX template equals, I think it's dot. Dot with a capital D. And we're going to put text in there, and the value is going to be page title. I think that's it. And page node. Before I explain that what it is, let me just make sure that works. This should create tabs on it. Oh no, where's our titles? Ah, because I have no titles. Oh, sorry. Bulbs. So this is the titles coming from the page. Candles. Uh-oh. What doesn't it like? Oh, because these aren't, yeah. Because we didn't actually create these as pages, so let's actually create these as pages now. There's people talking in my background, just ignore them. And candle palette has to be page 2. Ah, there's children in the background. They're really noisy. I wonder if you guys can hear that. So it happens at Christmas. They all come home and they make noise. Okay. This has to go away. Perfect. We have bulbs and candles now. This is a page indicator. And if you've not used a page indicator before, this is simply you attach it to something like a page control. Well, let's just say just a page control. There's nothing else you really want to attach it to unless you want to start digging a little bit low level on the controls. And if a page indicator, this page says, well, which page is it? And it gives you access to the resource. The page title says, in this page indicator, take the title from the page I represent. And what's interesting in these is that they also have actual state. I mean, they have the same, they map the state of the actual page. So if you had a rectangle here as well, color equals a little bit selected. What did we say last time? I don't remember. Okay, so now you actually see the page that's selected, and that's one of the nice values of the paletting here. I'm not sure. One of these things has a different height. The candles are a bit lower. I don't know why. Candle palette. Let's make them both work at height equals 30 just so they're the same size. And the selection is not so wonderful. And you notice it's fixed now. It's sort of on and off. Now we've done a lot of demos about how you can make that actually slide over and stuff, but I'll just stick with something simple for now. And let's just do it with a color again. Let's start with a color of, no, let's keep the rectangle always there. Layering too many rectangles is sometimes an issue, but let's just not worry about it for now. Corner radius equals 5, UX name equals dot back. And now we can use an activating animation instead, activating animation. So we can add some duration to this. We can change dot back dot color equals, we actually want this color. And this is one of those animations that doesn't have a duration because it's tied to the actual progress of the, let's make it transparent too, of the animation. So now you notice it fades in and out as it goes across. And as I said, I'm not going to get into the issue now, but there is ways to make this actually slide back and forth. It's just a little bit more difficult than what we're doing, and I don't want to focus on that right now. So you have bulbs and candles. Okay, and trying to see what else we can do with that. We can, let's make it close and open as well. The stack panel dock equals top, and before I put this page indicator in, this is docked at the bottom. I want to split the bottom so there's an X in here somewhere, and so we can close this thing. Where would I put the X? Maybe just over there, but it's not a page. So I can't really add it to a page. I guess that'd be a little bit weird. Dock. This is a stack panel, dock equals top. We have the page control. And I need to have two things docked in the bottom, so let's dock this to the top. And so there will be actually no element that's not docked. Left, and then the invader's dock equals bottom. Actually, we could leave this one undocked because it'll take up the remaining size. It's really weird to make the navigator take up the original size. I mean, the indicator. You'd probably want the navigator to take the original size, but I need to do that a different way then. And actually, let's just do that the other way. Let's do this the sensible way, not like this. So stack panel, we have two items. Stack panel, and then we make this part, just the indicator, a dock panel. We'll make the indicator take up the remaining space. Whoops. And then we'll make a close button take up the rest. So panel dock equals left. Text value equals, let's just use the quick item for now. Font size equals 30. We should probably use like a nice Unicode close thing there. And what happens when we click on this? Change to hit test mode so you don't have to hit the text exactly. Local bounds, and padding equals, I'd say 6, and make this 26, so it's not so big, but it's still hittable. Clicked, and then we're gonna make this page control hidden. It has a name already. Okay, that's good. Set palette nav dot visibility equals collapsed. And what we can also do is at any time one of these items here is clicked, we're also going to open up the palette navigation. Visible. And we'll start with it being invisible again. Visibility equals collapsed. Okay. So when we click on one, then it opens it up. If you click on the close, it collapses it. You can still click things, so you can still see that the bulbs, I was going to say this might be a defect saying it's still highlighted, but no, it still says there's bulbs, we're selecting bulbs, and we open it, and we can add the items here. and we can close it again. What we might want to add here is a refresh to get rid of everything on there, because the preview is going to keep refreshing this stuff. So let's put another one here, and let's move this background color to the dock panel itself so they're all white. And I'll add a second symbol later to the right called clear. And when this is clicked, we'll call a clear function in JavaScript, and we'll write that to clear everything off. So it's fit there. It doesn't quite fit. That was supposed to be dock equals right. And the text size, we made it too big. What's the text size here? We didn't specify a text size down here. I wonder what the font size default is. Let's say 18. This one will also be 18 then. We're going to run a space otherwise. And in state, we need to have a clear function. And clear will just be as simple as just resetting the ornaments like we did in the constructor. Since we did read JavaScript, it's going to come back. So we add these all up, then I can click clear, and they all go away. Same with candles, I can add them. Add some other bulbs, and clear them. And press the X to close it. Now I have some alignment issues up there, obviously. Well, I'm going to fix the obvious one first. Alignment equals center. Alignment equals center. That at least fixes the obvious ones. Or it should. Yeah, so now at least that's clear and this clear. Let's get a nicer X quickly. Unicode X. I always just like there's a lot of X's. Yeah, what do we have? X mark. That's probably not the best one, but there's a whole bunch of them. There's a whole bunch of them, so let's take this one. Actually, no, it should be an up arrow, because we're not really closing. X looks bad. Unicode up arrow. Because X makes it look like you're clearing. X should almost be the clear symbol instead, yeah? And we should actually copy that. Oh, one of these symbols. You know, I have some nice references for Unicode, and I never end up finding them. I always look for them, but I always end up at random places. This one looks okay. Let's just do, I don't like actual arrows. One of these guys looks fine. So this is not really closing it. This is just hiding the panel. And the clear one, let's make that, should I make that an X or should it be clear? I think clear is more explicit. And we can give it an X as well, so we can have both. Let's get back to there again. How did we get that X? We got it right there. No, not there. I like this one. It's actually a multiplication symbol, I think. Or it's the fat multiplication. I don't remember what those things called. There's a lot of X's in Unicode. And that might be too fat, but we'll be fine. Okay. Don't know why the text isn't aligned the same way. Okay. And then I'll close that off. And there's some spacing issues here, but we have the basic panel we want for adding ornaments. We can add candles. And we can add bulbs. And so that covers our basic ornaments. So this is the basic tree decoration. Let's get to adding some snow now following this guy, because that makes it more fun. We'll close this for a second, and we might want to close this panel entirely, but let's actually get to adding snow in the sky. We don't really need to select the snowflakes. We're just going to add snowflakes to all of this. And I'm going to move this entire panel to another control again here as well, because it's really not ornament palette. It's standalone as well. Dock equals top. It's sharing the state again, and that's okay. but it's completely independent of everything else on this page, so we can just stick it somewhere else. UX class equals ornament panel. Okay, so now I have an ornament panel, and as you see, it flickers a bit, which is perfect. Nothing changed. This is what we want. We wanted nothing to change, and this helps separate it out a lot. So it's really simple here. It's really somewhere else. And the tree we might actually want to do a different way, but it's simple enough that I'll leave it inline right now. But what I'd like to do is add some snow, and the snow is just going to be an overlay on the image. And let's say falling snow. It's weird to just call it snow, so I'm going to call it falling snow. It's going to be on top of everything. So you're falling snow, and you will see nothing at first. And what falling snow needs is we actually need to have snowflakes in here somewhere. So we're going to start with a snowflake. Oh, what's it complaining about? Ornament palette. Was that from before? Because it's working. I think I might have just forgotten to clear it. Okay, well, we'll figure out soon as I try to add something new. And for snow, we're going to have this dot snowflakes. It goes empty. Now, because we have to clear these as well, I'm going to copy it down to clear. And this is one of the cases I never actually like repeating code of any kind. So here we can actually call this dot clear instead. And that'll set up the basic things as well. But let's add a default snowflake. This dot snowflakes dot push. And where do we want to put it? New snowflake. I just stick it somewhere near the middle, 0.4, 0.2. And I have several snowflake images, so the same, we're going to follow the same again. I have 6 different images, so let's just give it snowflake 0 to start with. So I have one snowflake, and we're going to put it in the snowflake palette thing. Each items equals snowflakes. Image source equals resource to data image. I actually have to create the snowflake, I guess. Sorry that I jump back and forth. It's just some way I think about it sometimes. I wrote about that once, about a pair programming article about it. My thought process doesn't work quite right for it because I jump back and forth between these things. And I think I'm also influenced by preview. When I see something fail in preview, I feel like I should jump back and fix it instead of just keep going on what I am now. Because I didn't even close the string here. But X is then we had to do that class because we needed these values here. Y times 100%. And this time the anchor is going to be 50% and 50%. I did set a size. How big are those source files? Now I got to figure out what it's complaining about. Snowflake, snowflake. It's not defined. I have a snowflake though. New snowflake. That might be an old one. Now I have problems. Okay, what's it getting upset about now? Snowflakes, 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 snowflakes. There is a snowflake push. Well, I'm just going to refine and see if anything comes out of this. But I must have, something's wrong. I can't figure out what it is. Cannot resolve Unix operator. Maybe I got the name wrong. In the bulb pellet I have data to resource, and what do they call it in functional? Resource to data, so that's what's complaining about. And that's probably breaking the definition of this. Yeah, not such a friendly error message, the way it's presented. There's still something else wrong. Could not resolve type ornament pellet. Ornament panel. So, why was that working then? Alright. Oh, you saw a snowflake appear. Hopefully you saw it. Right there. There's an actual snowflake that appeared. And we're going to do the same with snowflakes. Before I animate them, let's allow you to add more of them. Now, a little bit of a trick here is that although the snowflake panel is visually on top, we want the tree to intercept clicks before the snowflakes. We're going to put the click somewhere else. We're going to put it on the client panel itself. Well, actually not in the client panel. We're going to put it just another panel here. Clicked, and I'm going to add snowflake. The reason I'm doing it this way is because I want everything else in this control, in this setup, to take a click first. But this is a sibling, because if you put a click directly on client panel, these are one of the bubbling events. If you click on the tree, the panel will also get clicked, and we don't want that. We really want it, like, only if nothing else is clicked do we actually add a snowflake. And we're going to share the same position as whatever is in the middle. So this shares the same size as the thing in the middle, which is where falling snow is, which is where the tree is. And so it should have the same coordinate system. And let's make an add snowflake now. We can take the same X here and Y. This dot snowflakes. X comma Y comma, and put snowflake 1. And we'll come back and randomize that afterwards. Okay. Uh-oh. Now they're not adding in the right place. It's kind of annoying. Or are they? No, they're not. Okay, that was this. Why are they not adding in the right place? Oh, because it's tree size. Yeah. So we're going to do the same thing here. Placed equals full placed. I don't know what else to call that. Because it's not really snowflakes, it's the full size, and let's do full placed. Full size equals x args dot width. Again, if I had a relative size in the arguments, I could avoid all this trouble. Okay, now it clicks where we want, until you go click on the tree. You have to click outside the tree. It's always the same snowflake, and you can't see them in the snow down there, unfortunately. And so we have snowflakes, and because these are actually white, and we have the reflecting background, we can actually put a slight color to the snowflakes. This is more of a tint. And how do we want to do this? We're going to do like F8, F8, FF, and then let the background shine through ever so slightly. 0. Or ever more so slightly. Okay, they shine through the background a little bit. And maybe we want to give them a slight more tinge of blue. That's too much red. Nobody wants a red snowflake. Nobody wants a red snowflake. So let's do blue. Give it a bit more of that cold feeling, the cyan color. Let's give it more cyan color. It's frozen. Very hard to see the difference, but okay. But at least they distinguish, and you could be able to show them on the snow maybe, but the snow is still going to disappear. But now I want to animate them because we have the problem that we can't really add to the tree here. We don't have the hit test. Again, we could actually fix this in JavaScript code, but let's just animate these things first of all. These snowflakes will simply have a while false, which defaults to running, and bypass equals none. We never want this to skip because this item is going to be added, and usually the triggers that are true immediately trigger, and we just don't want that to happen. So move y equals 1, relative to equals parent size, duration equals, let's take a snowflake, takes 4 seconds to fall. Or not. Never, never. Okay, and all my snow disappears. Wonderful, huh? The snow's all gone. But you can add more, and the snow now falls. But if you click snow, the user obviously wants a snowflake, and so we want to have increased density here. And that's falling really fast, so let's put it a bit slower first. Although, for our test, we don't want that. And I'm going to add something that I usually tell people not to do, but it actually has sense in this case. I'm going to add an action to a trigger. I need to do a callback. Callback. Is it a callback action? I don't even remember now. Remove snowflake. And when is this called? At 1. This is a relative timing. And it's complaining about something. Call back, probably. What's that? I'm pretty sure it's at. Time, is it relative at? Call back. At progress, sorry. At progress. This is a value between 0 and 1. So 1 is at the point when it's completely gone. That means off screen. It may actually be later than that, but that's okay. And we're going to go to the state now, and we want to have remove snowflake. But we don't really want to remove it. We don't want to mess with the list too much. We have the actual data here. So args.data is the snowflake, and we just want to put it back to the top. Well, actually, we have to remove it. Ignore me. So we're actually going to remove it again. Just never mind. Ignore what I said. Flakes.remove args.data. And we're just going to add another one. So whenever a user adds one, they keep one, and it just keeps recycling. X equals math.random. That should be fine. Y equals 0. This.snowflakes. Push new snowflake. X comma Y comma snowflake. And we'll put a second item here so we can see that these are the ones that come down again. It looks like I have an error. It doesn't want to open. Oh yeah, JavaScript. How do I remove an item? This is something I never remember in JavaScript. I'll never give me an interview in JavaScript. I will fail badly. Remove item by reference. Index of item. is this.snowflakes index of art.data. It's a really wacky JavaScript name, index1, whatever. And you see a new one fell down. So if I add some more, it's going to add them, right? No, it's not. Just complaining. Property of x is undefined. Where's that coming from? I wonder because I didn't get the placed message. Let me check that. Yeah, that's the reason. That has to do with that thing I said where the layout of the thing hasn't been decided yet. So now as I add one, it falls from where I add it. Okay, but you notice a problem we have here, and this is actually something we have in the model. This doesn't happen in observables. Is the model doesn't keep object identity. And by that, what I mean is that, oh, my laptop's going crazy, so I'm going to throw it down on the ground. Some MacBooks. Uh-oh. You can't see my image anymore. Alright, I'm just going to put it over the side. Sorry if it gets noisy. And I got to see if I'm actually still on the screen here. Messed up the camera. MacBooks are not, unfortunately, not powerful enough to stream live, but this will work. Okay. So, okay, this is, back to what I was saying, is that when we add one, the moment one's the bottom, they all get stuck at the top. And what's happening is because it's adding and removing that. This item here, this falling snow item is being added and removed, and it's causing this wild thing to reload again and restart. And there's not much we can do about it. Each can't do anything about it, but we can do something like this: identity equals, and give them each an ID. And at first it's going to complain to us, but if each snowflake gets an ID, snowflake ID plus, and we'll increment the ID each time, and we just track the IDs. I made a mistake. Yeah, to reload that again. Okay, it's not, should be working now. So, uh-oh. I'm gonna kill something for a second. Nope, it's working. MacBook's going crazy again. Killed my mouse. Okay, so I lost one of my mice. Fortunately, I have two on here. This has to be snowflake.id. Just going to resize it again so it gets the right message. Now when one hits the bottom, if I did this right, okay. So the other ones keep falling now. It doesn't reset all of them, and this is a feature of each. This is the feature of each, that in the falling snow, that when you say ID, it says, I don't care that there's new objects created. I'm going to check this ID field, and if it's the same, I'm going to map it to the same ones. And that lets us keep using the same ones, and nothing appears or disappears. Now you notice they still pop in at the top a little bit, and that's because of our state. When they pop in, we might want to say let.y equals minus 0.05 instead. Just start a little bit outside of the screen so they can scroll in. And I'm really sorry about the noise from the Mac. It's just gone crazy now. I am doing a lot of animation. This is obviously something, the stream you're animating, but now that I have something permanently animating, the whole screen's updating the whole time. I don't know what, this might be causing an issue for streaming as well. It's causing an issue for preview, but this is not perfect. I have a solution to this. I'm going to be streaming from a remote computer at some point, but I have to buy a new one. I bought a nice capture card, but my current Linux laptop unfortunately doesn't support GL32, which is needed by OBS, the broadcast software. But let's slow the snowflakes down a little bit more, because they're falling quite fast. And I want to put a little bit of wobble to them. And I think how we can put the wobble in. By wobble I mean we can cycle through the wobble a bit. And how do we want to do that? Or translation, give it a name, and but how can I cycle? I'll do cycle. Translation name equals wobble. And I'll make I'll just make another one that cycles the whole time. Or can I stick that directly inside here? Probably. Yeah, cycle target equals wobble.x. Let's say 0%. No, let's do relative to equals, let's say its own size. In the low, we want to wobble off 0.5 of its own size, and the high of 0.5 of its size, and its frequency is how often we want it to wobble. This should also be really slow, otherwise it won't look very convincing, so it's 0.17 or something. The reason why I stick random numbers in here sometimes, or look like primes, is, again, duration here might also be like 7.87 or something. Is this prevents any unintended cycles in the visuals, and so I naturally just try to do this so that you never have a cycle that appears where nothing starts lining up. Okay, and now you can see the snow slowly going back and forth. You notice how the snow is coming actually on top of the palette. I didn't really intend that, but I forgot I put the snow on top of it, so oh well, the snow comes on top of the palette. That's fine. The palette still works. And okay, now I'm probably really overloading, probably because the more you put on here, this is the more animation that has to happen. There's a bit of calculation involved here, but this is stressing out the caching engine. Because basically, with all this moving, it doesn't get to cache anything anymore. It's just redrawing everything. But you notice how I have one of these unintended cycles again. You notice they're all kind of, they're not really random or anything, right? And this gets a little bit harder to fix, so I just need to ignore that for now. Let's let them rotate in cycles. And let's see what else we can do. Might want to put rotation on here as well. They don't really put a rotation. I'm going to do it a different way. I'm not going to use spin. I'm going to use rotation. Rotation degrees equals 0. And yeah, I can't really do rotation fully. Yeah, we can. We can. So never mind. Ignore me. They're all going to rotate the same way though, and it's really hard for me to fix this quickly. So spin dot degrees low equals 0, high equals 360. Make them also rotate a very low frequency, 0.7. And now I'm going to put a waveform, sawtooth, which means it'll just jump around, so it'll rotate continuously instead of back and forth. Uh-oh. It rotated all the way away because the rotation is happening after the translation. We want to actually rotate before we move it. Again, I've done something weird here. Okay, we want transform origin equals anchor. I forgot about that one. Otherwise, it's to the top left, and the top left is actually its original position. And why is it still doing weirdness? Huh. What's happening here? Okay, let's get rid of this one. Oops. Let's get rid of the translation. Trying to debug why is it doing craziness. Okay, I should get rid of those from the top as well. Before this goes crazy, I'm going to refresh that. I'm going to restart the viewport to get rid of this stuff. And we actually need the falling snow to be behind the ornament panel. Or, never mind, do this. So nothing hits it. I'm going to figure out why it's... Come on, let's just let it rebuild. Let's give it a chance to rebuild. Okay, there we go. And it has all of the... Wow, it's okay, no, rebuild. Rebuild. I hope that it's not too loud. If it's too loud, I can move the Mac a bit further, but I have to switch the video. I think I'll just leave it for now. No, I'm gonna put it away. Just a second, I'm gonna lose video for a second. And I should be back. Put my overlay away. You hear me again? Now I can move the MacBook somewhere remote. That was bad. We still there? And I'm lost the video, but we still have audio. Okay, switch back to this one. Now I'm back again. Hello, Leo Nixon. How's it going? I think I've got my video fixed again now. And I hope you can't hear the fan anymore. I still got these things going crazy. And my clear button's not working. I think I've convinced it to do something horrible. Connection failure. I don't know how that happened. So let's let it rebuild. I got rid of the nonsense. The rotation, it's weird. I'm going to have to probably restart Fuse. I've been running this since yesterday. So let's go to the panel. I'm in release testing, go Fuse preview. What's my name of my project? So let's start this all over. It happens sometimes. I mean, I've been working on some projects in there for over a day. We do this purposely for testing. And obviously it has some faults, but in this case it's hard to say because the MacBook's totally overloaded at this point with the streaming and the bit of compilation and those endless snowflakes that I created. Like I said, I'm trying to solve this hardware-wise. I have to get an external streaming device so I don't overload the MacBook. Or a MacBook desktop, but I don't really like the way they look. They don't fit well in anywhere, and they're ridiculously expensive, so I'll probably just get an external one. Now there's still snowflakes everywhere, which is really weird because I don't have any snow. I just have the one snowflake. Is that just the one snowflake moving back and forth? Okay, let's get rid of that false default snowflake, just so we can have some sanity here. Okay, it's good. Snowflake gone. But why? Rotation. Why is it spinning all over the place like crazy? Each item, the snowflake, should be totally fine. And let's just remove this for a second so it doesn't go crazy. Oh, that was stupid. I see why. When I removed this remove to here, I removed the duration of this thing as well, which means there's absolutely nothing giving time. So it keeps hitting this remove snowflake every time, and then it re-adds and re-adds and re-adds. So that's what was causing everything to go crazy, because I was continuously, basically every single frame, causing a new snowflake to appear and disappear. So I can add the snowflake back now. Now we can figure out why it's rotating stupidly. And this is really confusing me. I don't know why it's rotating like that. Let's get rid of this again. Just bear with me for a second, but we're going to stick a nothing in here. There's a reason why nothing exists, because sometimes you just want a nothing. You just want to do nothing for a while. It's rotating up there. If I had another one, well, the rotation is correct. You know what it is, and I think this is an old document I wrote about this. I don't think you can combine these together like this. It's causing a problem. So let's just have one translation. We'll do and we're going to start with the y equals... No, let's just leave it at that. And instead of a move, I'm going to do a change. Wobble.y is 1. Oh, I need another one because wobbling is based on the parent size. Translation y equals just, yeah, y equals 0. Relative to equals parent size this time. And distance, just call it distance. Now I'm going to change the distance. 1, relative, don't need relative to, duration was 7.5. And that's annoying. Why is it doing this? Is it in reverse order? It is. Okay. I forgot our matrices might be in reverse order. And this is one of those weird cases, if you pile up enough, you get the problem that... so now I have this rotation, and it has to be done before the translations. And this is sort of stack-based, so it's kind of at the... It's not stack-based, we're just right associated with matrices, so it doesn't the other order. And so this should also work now. We should actually be able to wobble them. And take out the nothing. Unfortunately, every time we reify, the state of each one's lost, so we can restart. They all rotate the same direction, and that's fine. I'll just leave it like that for now. We have snowflakes, and we can add the bulbs to the tree still. Add a few candles. Okay, so if you have any questions now, just ask. Otherwise, I'm going to do one more thing, I think. I'm going to add... Oops, I meant to close it. Okay, well, I'm going to make individual snowflakes. Because I have several of them, so we want to use different ones. How many did I have? I had 6, and I'll just hard code them again. Just not too much. Snowflake 0. Now I don't like hard coding things, but in some cases it's not necessarily wrong, because here I don't really have like a list. It would almost be wrong to say for I equals 0 to 6 and concatenate this, because it's not sure, because it's not like you could change that value. This is a fixed list of 6. You'd have to have a constant coming from somewhere. And the list is small enough that I'm not too concerned about it. We're not going to add any by default. And we're going to say let image equals snowflakes. Still haven't figured out if there's a random function that returns an integer. I thought random times snowflakes.length. Say image. Did we give them a different size? How big are these things? Were they decent? No, we should give them a size. The natural size of the snowflake just appears to be okay, I guess. How wide should they be? About 10%? One really big fat snowflakes? It's about the same size as before. It didn't reload. Why not? Oh, we have to, when it comes back up, it also has to do it. So it didn't reload, and we need to have another one. Oh, it's complaining about something, that's why. Yeah. Won't reload if I go to syntax error. Okay. Now what's the problem? Cannot read property X. Yeah, again. It's because I didn't load the size. So now we have random snowflakes falling. And that's what we want, random snowflakes. Perfect. And when they hit the bottom, they'll come out at the top again. Now they all come out going the same direction, the rotation. And without getting too much into expressions, I showed the expressions quite a bit in the other case. How you'd have expression controlling this, so you could actually offset where these things start. And cycle in theory takes an offset too, except it's really hard to hook up here because the moment you put like a binding here, like some sort of binding, it has this delay because until that binding is defined, it doesn't know what the value is, so it takes the initial value and goes from row 1. It's messy, but there is a way to actually get around that using an isDefine function, but that gets really messy, and for this demo right here, I don't want to complicate it too much, so we'll just stick with the snowflakes. Add some to the tree, one snowflake, watch it fall, add some bulbs. It up and add some more snowflakes. You'll notice this little image in the background. I didn't talk about it. This is actually scaled to fit, so as you expand it, you can. Oh my! I've done something horrible. All right, don't resize it. But you saw Santa Claus shortly before I crashed it. You saw Santa Claus, and that's really weird. Well, let's get that going again. I don't want to end on that note of the crashing. Especially Santa Claus crashing. That's not nice. But you notice how everything's relative, so they actually kept their position and stuff, and that was important why I'm using relative spacing for the bulbs and for the ornaments and snowflakes. Just so that if you do resize it, it works. Why that resize crashed it is, I can't say right now. I've not seen that before based on resizing. But if I can reproduce it, I'll file the issue and we'll get that fixed, of course. I mean, sometimes just randomness happens, though. Okay, let's put it back to compact view. So again, I just wanted to show you that there's a Santa Claus in the background. And if you make it wider, you can actually get more snow into the picture. It spreads out a bit more. But it also gets bigger because we based it based on the width. So as I make it wider, the snow gets bigger. And this is the width of the image. You notice it's getting taller now. And it really didn't like that. It crashed again. Okay, this is... that's good and bad news. I mean, it seems really simple to reproduce whatever crash I have, so I'll file a defect for that. But, I mean, at the same time, it kind of sucks that it crashes. Come on, Mac, you can stop. console on Mac doesn't like to kill things sometimes. What's it doing? You know you want to stop. Okay. So I'm going to just get this running. I'm going to get the graphics showing again, and I think I'm going to stop that for today. I'm going to push the code up to the same place, and let me actually do that. Now I can open up a new tab. Ooh, what is this? Pressed it in the wrong window. Okay, you can have multiple viewports. I never even realized that. Alright, so I'm just going to No. Where is this? Diffuse demos. So my phone's ringing, just ignore that. And this is a Christmas tree, get status, it just get add dot. So those are mainly graphics there. We have our first files are mainly graphics, but adding Christmas tree. And this will be on my GitHub site. I'll put the link in just afterwards, but it's on my normal repository. And let's just go back to Compact. And I was hoping to actually get some lights in here as well, but I'm running out of time right now, so let's just ignore the lights. Let's just add some bulbs again. So let's recap what we did is we have a page control at the top. This is an actual page control for the palette where you can select items and you can put them on the tree. To know whether we have a bulb or a candle selected, we're using the page index. We could have just made one extended palette, but this seemed like easier. And yeah, okay. Sure, I can put a candle on the ground. Why not? Let's put another bulb on. And you can close it. And we had the clear button, which clears everything. And we had, if you press anywhere else, it creates a snowflake, and that falls. And when the snowflake hits the bottom, we'll let one hit the bottom. And this hitting the bottom is not really hitting the bottom. It's like, it's waiting until it's scrolled down a full height. So when I click one here, it's actually going down, down. It's going out of the bottom of the screen. So it's going all the way down here and then restarting. There's two purposes to this. We don't actually want them to restart the moment they hit the bottom, because then they'll start bunching up. If we do it this way, then these two will actually stay in sync when they actually hit the top. And so we have snowflakes, they rotate. We had a bit of trouble in the ordering there. And you can decorate it. And this code is available there. We put a little bit of wobble to the snowflakes, maybe too much. I don't know. A really weird issue with the text here. It might be because of the icon. We'll see. I could fix that too. And that's all I had. I wanted to get a little bit further, but it's taking quite a bit of time, which is okay. I mean, maybe if somebody wants, if anybody's interested, just give me a shout, and I can actually keep going with the lights and the star. And I have a bunch of present gifts too. There's a bunch of presents I want to add too, and it just repeats the theme of the presents. Let's click them, add them to the bottom, and it just looks pretty. But you can then open the presents. You make them shake and open or something. That was the idea. And then also lights in the tree. I've prepped having lights in the tree in a few different ways. That one's going to be a bit more difficult. But if people are interested, I can just do another couple of shows until Christmas, adding more stuff to this, and we can see what goes along with it. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave that as is for now. Let me know what you want. And if you're interested, please subscribe to my channel on Twitch or on YouTube if you're watching this there. Feel free to shout questions to me at Twitter or one of the chat channels. And I hope you've enjoyed this show. I hope you enjoy the Christmas tree. I'll push it up to GitHub now. And if you want, just let me know, and we can continue working on this in the next couple of days. I can show you where we can go from here. And that's it for me, and thank you for watching. Okay, so yeah, we have one press. Okay, then I'll try to keep going on this either maybe later today or tomorrow. I'll keep working on this over the holidays just as something so we can have a full example coming up. Just remember to please subscribe, and I'll let you know also on the Fuse channel when I go live. Alright, thank you very much.